Okay, greetings everybody. Keith here. And I'm hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you tonight about some kidnapping. Kidnapping. As it relates to the person, of course, that's the biggest issue. Most people don't know that there's a separation between the living soul and the person. And these corporate entities dealing in persons coming after the living soul of the person. Namely, the officers that pull you over alongside the road in situations like myself and many others where they turn around and just arrest you alongside the road and take you to jail directly. That's kidnapping. That's kidnapping. And we're going to discuss this as we go over some things. And one of the first things I'm going to go over is, of course, 1 USC 1. If you listen to the non-bit Kerry Zolman idiot video last night, he went over 1 USC 1, where it talks about words denoting numbers, gender, and so forth. And we're going to skim over that real quick. But before we do, I want to say welcome to everybody. Dre Vasco is the only one that I see at the moment. And of course, that's likely because of shadow banning and stuff. They show me several visitors, but again, I've got it up on several platforms, so there are some platforms I don't see. So welcome everybody. Appreciate all the support. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe. If you're on El Perro, go over to Hecklebus and hit the like, share, and subscribe over there. And vice versa. If you're on a Hecklebus, go over to El Perro and hit the like, share, and subscribe over there. That way, if one of our channels gets struck, we can still bring you the information. And of course, there's a PayPal link pinned to the top for anybody who wants to share some love. The StreamYard link is down there for anybody who wants to jump on panel. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. 1 USC 1. And it is words denoting number, gender, and so forth. Now, this is the very first code in their codification. It tells you tells you what everything's all about in these definitions. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress, unless the context indicates otherwise, in other words, they have to have particular definitions or specific definitions. Otherwise, the definitions apply generally. Words importing the singular include and apply to several persons, parties, or things. In other words, words importing the plural include the singular, and words importing the singular include the plural. In other words, they become synonymous. Words importing the masculine gender include the feminine as well, and vice versa. Words importing the masculine include the masculine as well, meaning they are synonymous. Again, words used in the present tense include the future as well as the present. In other words, words used in the future as well as the present include the present tense. The words insane and insane person shall include every idiot, insane person, and person non compos mentis. This is what Kerry was talking about in the video last night. You just ask questions. It's the same thing Paul and I do. That's all we do is ask questions anymore. We're not going to make bold statements. We ask questions. Okay? The word person and whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals. These are all persons. When it comes to the individual, from 1 USC 8, a little bit further down the line, it says, in determining the meaning of any act of Congress or any ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States. So the individual is under the administration of the bureaus and agencies of the United States. The word person, human being, child, and individual shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapien who is born alive at any stage of development. Every infant member of the species, that's a minor. So the individual is a minor and has not declared the age of majority. Officer includes any person authorized by law to perform the duties of the office. So officer includes any person, and whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals that are non-compos mentis because they're not real living beings. They have no mental capacity. Do you understand that? Officer includes any person authorized by law to perform the duties of the office, wherein the word person and whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships. So officer includes persons, and the offices are merely of corporate entities. The individual is a corporate entity known as a minor. It's still a corporate entity under the United States. United States is a corporation. And they have no mental capabilities. Those mental capabilities have to come from the living soul. They cannot come from the person. The person is an intangible aspect of the living soul. Signature or subscription includes a mark. Like Carrie Zolman was talking last night in the video, a dot is a mark. So as soon as you put a mark on that paper, you can lift that pen up, and that can be construed as a signature. When the person making the same intended it as such. So I can make a signature any way I like. I do not have to sign in cursive the name of the person. I can make a signature with a mark. This is known antecedent to the creation of this particular definition, whereas a man that was non-compos mentis of being able to read and write could merely just place a mark on the paper. And it could be any mark that he chose. And in modern times, we had Prince change his name to a symbol so that he could put his mark on the paper, and it wouldn't be construed as a signature or a subscription, but merely a mark of his intent. Oath includes affirmation, and sworn includes affirmed. Writing includes printing and typewriting and reproductions of visual symbols. A dot is a symbol. Every mark, every stroke is a symbol. By photographing, multigraphing, mimeographing, manifolding, or otherwise. Manifold, I've mentioned that before. So let's go on to the next one. The next one we're going to talk about is the personal jurisdiction, and I've been over this a couple times. But like I said, that officer alongside the road doesn't have personal jurisdiction. The court doesn't have personal jurisdiction. That personal jurisdiction doesn't go in the venue until you volunteer that person to the venue. You have to do so knowingly, willingly, and intentionally. Okay? So the officer alongside the road gets that ID. That's not grant of personal jurisdiction. That defendant did not appear in court. So that officer can't placate that he got personal jurisdiction on the side of the road. Okay? Particularly when that's a threat, duress, and coercion, that if you don't hand over the license, they're going to arrest you. If you don't give them a license, they most likely will arrest you. And it says personal jurisdiction refers to the power that a court has to make decisions regarding the party being sued in a case. So when the officer draws up that citation, he's drawing up a suit against you in a court case. He is suing you, and he's putting his name on there. Okay? So he has no power to grant that jurisdiction just because he gave the court some kind of citation. A signature doesn't mean anything. Personal jurisdiction, typically for a court to have personal jurisdiction over defendant, the plaintiff needs to serve the defendant in the state in which the court sits. The officer cannot be the plaintiff. He cannot be the server on the side of the road. He can only be a witness. And as a witness, he has to follow the diplomatic channels of notice of service. And he doesn't do that. And the defendant needs to voluntarily appear in the court. The defendant needs to voluntarily appear in court. They cannot have personal jurisdiction without the defendant voluntarily appearing in court, and he must do so willingly, intentionally, and knowingly. He can't just show up and say, okay, let's get this ball rolling. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here. See, it's supposed to be a matter of necessity and not just voluntarily offering your services of non-compos mentis. See, that's the issue. When you go to those courts, they have a presumption that you're competent when you, in fact, are not. You're not competent of the administration. Period. Okay? So real quick, before we get any further, I want to make sure that everybody is reminded to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on both channels. If you're not already subscribed to Hecklebus, get over there and subscribe over there. If you're not already subscribed on El Perro, get over there and subscribe on there. In the meantime, I do want to say hi to everybody. Harry Nut, Big Stank, Gray Vasco, Damsel Medic. Everybody, welcome. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe and get this out there. There is a PayPal button for anybody that wants to share some love. Every little bit counts. First 10, 15, 20 bucks. Every little bit helps. Yes, you should focus on minor. It's a big clue there because as a minor, this is the presumption on their record is that you're still a minor because you entered the records as a minor, and then as a minor you applied for an SS5. And in that application of SS5, you didn't provide an SS4 declaring that you were the executor of the person, separating the minor from the major from the age of majority, declaring that your adulthood is now there and you are now going to execute all of the personal activities and not the state. No personal knowledge or firsthand knowledge of anything, right? Yeah, the officer alongside the road doesn't even know you have firsthand knowledge of your name. That's why he's asking for your license. He wants to make sure that license, even though he may or may not have already run the plate, is going to match with the records. He doesn't have any firsthand knowledge of anything until he pulls you over. Yes, it says Harry Nutt says you are a minor. They presume you are a minor because you have not taken control of the securities in your minor account. And that is a minor account that they open up in your name. And they even say it's in your name. And what they talk about is getting that birth certificate and authenticating to make sure it's the same person that was initially founded during the establishment of account. And in that process, a lot of people are using that as if though they can become the Series 7 broker and start exchanging those securities, and that's false. So if you're going to go that route, make sure it's merely a collapse of the public trust because, again, you're not part of that administration. You're not supposed to be operating in that trust. So if you're going to do that, it's my opinion and strong suggestion that you should collapse that trust and have all those credits reverted to a private trust. Have that private trust set up somewhere else. I've got mine currently set up with the electronic payment system from the online postal service. That way it's a postal trust and it's a customs exchange and not a securities exchange. And that way you're a customer and not a consumer. That way you get to customize the documents as a customs broker at the international level because you're your own diplomatic envoy. You're the only as a single man or one man, you're the only one that can determine for yourself what is best for yourself. And in that, it's always wise to make sure that when you're determining what's best for yourself, that you make sure it's good for the rest of the public as well. You don't want to be detrimental to the rest of the public, claiming that it's good for you. The rest of the public's going to come up in arms. And that's what we're dealing with today. The public is claiming it's good for them to have all this chaos, and it's bad for you to be providing the chaos. When that's all backwards. They're the ones providing the chaos because they don't know what they're doing. Neither do you. So let's get on to the next one. Kidnapping. Okay, first of all, I want to remind you, everybody, kidnapping in regards to Deuteronomy 24:7. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. So when that officer is alongside the road and he's writing up that nice citation, you decide you don't want to sign it, or you don't want to give him the ID, most likely they're going to arrest you. And that is on the premise that he thinks that you owe somebody something, a debt, and he's going to create a lawsuit. He's going to create the lawsuit on a piece of paper and hand it over to somebody else who's going to draw up a case file and then hand it over to the court clerk, who's going to draw up another case file and enter it into the court registry system and assign a judge to administrate the estate of the person investing in that court registry system. And that's a probate setup. If the living will, or the living soul has a living will of the living word of the living God, then they have no business being pulled into those administrative courts, period, at all. So under 18 U.S.C. 1201, kidnapping says, whoever unlawfully seizes, confines, inveigles, this is a form of deception or flattery, decoys, kidnaps, abducts, or carries away and holds for ransom or reward, or otherwise any person. So when he takes that license, that's a person. When he creates that citation, it's got that person on there, and he carried it away. He's holding it, and it's got a ransom amount on there, except in the case of a minor, by the parent thereof. So he's capturing the minor. Like I said, it's a minor. You haven't accept the age of majority and fixed the record yet, corrected the record. So it's a minor. And he's acting as the parent, the plaintiff, the state. But he has no such contract. His contract is with the local authorities, whether it be the municipal mayor and the chief of police, or the county commissioner and the county sheriff. And they're the ones enforcing state statutes through municipal codes and county codes that are published by a publishing company and not by the state statutes. They're interpretations by a publishing company that the county sheriff and the county commissioner contract a publishing company to review and rewrite for them at the county level, for use at the county level, or for use at the municipal level. That's all it is. They're not actually using the state statutes. Look at it. They'll say municipal code, and they'll use county statutes, and they'll refer to state statutes. Okay. The person is willfully transported in interstate or foreign commerce. So it has everything to do with interstate or foreign commerce and nothing else. When you read this section, you will see nothing else in here in regards to private dealings. Nothing. It's all public, interstate, or foreign commerce. Interstate or foreign commerce, nothing else. So when they're wanting that person and you don't give them that person and they kidnap the man, that is kidnapping. When they take away the man and put him in jail instead of using the diplomatic channels of notice, because it's a foreign entity. In all cases, even when they ask you for a deposit on a fine, fee, or penalty at the courthouse, they know that it's a foreign deposit and they're dealing with a foreigner. If they don't, then they're the ones that are incompetent. And again, like I said, that one USC 1 shows you they're incompetent. That's the code that they follow. It shows they're incompetent. They believe in that shit. Regardless of whether the person was alive when transported across a state boundary or the offender travels in interstate or foreign commerce. You cannot travel in interstate or foreign commerce because when you're in interstate, foreign, or foreign commerce, you are driving or you are a passenger being driven, or uses the mail for any means. You can mail, you don't have to appear, you can mail in your payment. They entice you to get involved with their fraud and become part of the fraud. Facility or instrumentality of interstate or foreign commerce. That piece of paper is an instrumentality of interstate or foreign commerce under the Paperwork Reduction Act. In committing or in furtherance of the commission of the offense, or in furtherance, in committing or in furtherance. So when they tell you to go ahead and just mail it in, if you don't, they are enticing you to be in furtherance of the commission of their offense of fraud, kidnapping, blackmail, extortion, forced labor. Any such act against the person is done within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States as an obligation or other security of the United States, as a vessel of the United States. And I've spoken of this many times, 18 U.S.C. 7, 8, and 9. It is the only place that they can operate in because it's an instrumentality of the interstate and foreign commerce of the United States, the laws of the United States, under which these corporations have to be organized. These persons have to be organized. These LLCs have to be organized. These trusts have to be organized. These individuals have to be organized. All of these persons have to be organized as some kind of banking institution in interstate or foreign commerce, which is the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States for obligations and other securities of the United States by use of vessels of the United States. As used in this section, the term parent does not include a person whose parental rights with respect to the victim of an offense under this section have been terminated by a final court order. As used in this section, the term parent does not include a person whose parental rights with respect to the victim of an offense under this section have not been terminated. So you have to terminate the parental rights known as loco parentis of the United States and the state. You have to do that. Otherwise, that presumption will ride and they will continue kidnapping you. They will continue kidnapping you. Yeah, Harry Nutt says, wait till the people discover the state is renting the courthouses. Every governmental building is rented. Needful places and buildings under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Needful places and buildings. Every last one that's rented, including that home that you're renting, It's being rented because it's a needful place in building. Think about that. Pure for profit foreign companies operating on dry dock. And that dry dock is the postal docket. The dry dock is the postal docket. Okay, let's get on to the next one, which is blackmail. Blackmail / extortion. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. Putting one in fear of consequences, and that is extortion. That's a demand for ransom. That's blackmail. The same thing. Whoever, under a threat of informing or as a consideration for not informing against any violation of any law of the United States, demands or receives any money or other valuable thing shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. That officer alongside the road, whoever, is a person, an individual, a corporate entity working for a local parentis and is issuing a threat of informing their mommy and daddy, I'm going to tell on you. See, they're a bunch of tellers working for a bank, or a consideration for not informing against any violation. And they're under a threat of informing you with that documentation called a traffic citation. They're telling on you as if though you belong to the same parent. Well, usually in my younger days, if a kid did something wrong to another kid, that other kid would go over and tell their mom and dad, and mom and dad didn't go attack and kidnap the little kid. They went and talked to mom and dad. And this is what we have today. We have a bunch of parents, a bunch of chiefs thinking that everybody's children and that they're their children, and they get to kidnap them anytime they want. They get to bring them home and ground them to their room anytime they want. Bunch of control freaks. And that citation is demand. It's a demand. Again, they're going to arrest you if you don't give them that license. They're going to arrest you if you don't sign that documentation. They're going to set out a bench warrant and come get you if you don't show up in court. This is their insanity, not yours. Come out of it. So let's look at the next one. Forced labor. Why is it forced labor? They're forcing you to put a mark on a piece of paper. They're forcing you to hand over documentation. They're forcing you to hand over a United States instrumentality so that they can turn around and contract with you and force you to go to courts under threats, duress, and coercion so you can pay them and not even get paid. They're going to force you to conduct laborious work. They're going to take your car and make you walk to court. They're going to make you do paperwork. And they're going to make you sign release paperwork to release your personal services that you already leased, and then they discharged. And because of your fear, you go sign that release paperwork again. Whoever, there's that whoever term again, right? Knowingly provides or obtains the labor or services of a person by any one of, or by any combination of, the following means. By means of force. Is that officer going to enforce that law? Whoever knowingly provides or obtains the labor or services of a person by any one or by any combination of the following means. Is that officer going to tell you he's got to enforce the law? Ask him, are you here to enforce legal process, the law? Uh-huh. Whoever knowingly provides or obtains the labor sources. Does that mean I have to labor? Are you trying to force me to labor? Are you going to threaten me if I don't? Oh, no, no, no. It's just, you don't have to. They might issue a bench warrant, though. Well, that would be a threat. And you're knowingly telling me that. Physical restraint. Now, when you turn them lights on, that was an emergency situation, and you pulled over thinking that he was going to go around you. Get onto his emergency. You're not an emergency, are you? But then when you pulled over, he pulled over behind you. Now you're in physical restraint because he didn't go past you, so you couldn't pull back over on the side of the road, and continue along your path. But now he physically has an interest in you, and you have a knowing that he's coming up to your car. That is physical restraint. By means of serious harm or threats of serious harm. Anytime they threaten to put you in jail with people that are violent, murderers, thieves, rapists, and robbers, that is a threat of serious harm. By means of the abuse or threatened abuse of law or legal process. Again, when he pulled you over and committed that physical restraint because he used those lights and sirens, that's a felony. That's abuse of the law. That's a felony. 15-year felony. By means of any scheme, plan. Did you know it's a Social Security Administration retirement plan for that Social Security number? Did you know that when you get that driver's license, you have to provide that birth certificate and a Social Security number, which they then create that driver's license on with that enumeration, the address, and the military style name? Did you know that's a selective service plan? By means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the person to believe that if the person did not perform such labor or services, that person or another person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint. Just go with the plan, folks. Just go with the plan. They always ask you during a plea agreement, were you coerced or forced into this agreement? No, not at all. I love this idea of jail. No coercion at all. Exactly. The hypocrisy of it. Were you coerced or forced into this agreement? Yes, every time. Every time I was coerced and forced into it because I was grown up and taught the belief that you had to have a Social Security number. 98% of the population believes you have to pay taxes, and they pay so voluntarily. Same with Social Security. It's voluntary. It's not required. Same with selective service. It's voluntary. The only time it becomes required is if the young male decides he does want to take upon the benefits of the health and higher education provided through Social Security, and then he applies for it through an SS5. Then he's required to sign up for selective service. No other time. Not until then. And that, again, is a choice. So if he doesn't volunteer for Social Security to take upon those benefits, he's not required to sign up for selective service. You don't have to sign anything. That's what we're trying to point out. You don't have to sign anything. None. There is no law that says you have to have identification, and there's no law that says you have to sign. It's only a presumption that you carry one. And if you do and you sign, there's a presumption that the person authorized to sign on the instrument is therefore not liable for the person named in the instrument. Yet they're holding everybody liable. How is that? Again, the insanity. It's plain writing. The authorized representative giving an unambiguous, authorized signature on the instrument is therefore not liable for the person named in the instrument. Then what is liable? Where's it at? And why are you saying I'm liable? Well, like I said, I found out very clearly through their financial index that the obligor is identified by a number. And that number is supposedly looks a lot like the Social Security number, but it's not because it doesn't have the two hyphens, changing it from 11 character identification to a 9 character identification. And therefore, that is a conversion unknown, unwitting, and involuntary on my part, and therefore is fraud evidenced in, on, and for the record. This is why when I call the Treasury, and they every 6 months I call them and ask them, are there any debts, public or private, listed against my number? And I give them the Social Security number, and they say no. Then how is it the local courthouse poses those debts, 93 cases, and poses all those debts, and the United States doesn't know they're there? Because that's a false issue of a security at a state level under the state securities laws, which are known as your blue sky laws. And they're issuing because you're using that name and address. Again, data elements under 19 CFR 149.3 say you can use a number in lieu of the name and address. And that's exactly what they're doing. You're giving them the name and address, and they're using the number in lieu of it. And in that process, they're converting it. So think about this stuff. So let's get back to this. So that plan, that Social Security plan, is a scheme or pattern intended to cause the person to believe that if that person did not perform per the form of the contract, the personal form, per son, such labor or services, that person or another person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint, shall be punished as provided under subsection D. So let's go down to D. There's that term, whoever again violates this section shall be fined under this title, in prison not more than 20 years or both. 20 years or both. If death results from a violation of this section, or if the violation includes kidnapping, an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, the defendant shall be fined under this title, imprisoned for any term of years or life or both. 20 years to life, folks. Let's go back to this one here, the kidnapping. Shall be punished or imprisoned for any term of years or for life, and if the death of any person results, shall be punished by death or life imprisonment. These are serious charges, and that extends right from the time they turn them emergency lights on and commit a felony themselves and then try to issue you a false security. This is ridiculous shit, people. This is the insanity that they live in, and I'm trying to help you learn the plain writing, concise English, how it's constructed, to use it against them. Please pay attention. This stuff is so simple once you really get down to the grassroots of it. And again, that's why I urge everybody, get to the roots of things. Etymology is the root words. Etiology is the roots of the cause. Epistemology is the roots of the knowledge. And it's only through that. You've got 7 spirits of the Lord. The spirit of the reverence of the Lord, spirit of the fear of the Lord, spirit of the knowledge, spirit of the wisdom, spirit of the counsel, spirit of the counsel, knowledge, wisdom, counsel, knowledge, wisdom. Oh, I'm missing 2. I can't, brain fart. I need another hit. But anyway, when you look in the scripture, you'll find the 7 spirits, and you need to learn how to live in those spirits. That's going to tell you all about that person, how they're playing that person in insanity, because it's in compos mentis at all times. The person cannot speak for itself. It has to be presented in another form, perform. Therefore, if you're going to go to court, you have to perform. That's forced labor. Even if it's just making a mark on a document, that's forced labor. Make sure you learn how to coin your words or purse your lips. I urge you. Yes, it's our fault. I've been saying this all along. It's our fault because we pay for our father's sins, because our father was a dumbass and wasn't a priest unto us. We become a non-priest priest, preaching all this shit, not even knowing. Funny bit, non-bit, isn't it? It's great being an idiot, non-idiot, though. So think about this stuff. And again, that brings us to the end of our reflections here on Hecklebus Herald. We'll see you again next Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Again, I might bring more videos on different terminology and stuff, but I'm going to make it a regular thing on Sunday nights, 10 o'clock. Tonight I did a short one on parable at 10 o'clock, lasted about 17, 20 minutes. And then I came back at 11 o'clock. But as I get this foundation structured up and everything, it will be a regular thing on Sunday nights, 10 o'clock, the Hecklebus Herald. So spread the word and let them hear the word. God bless you all. I love you. And you know the rest. I don't give a fuck whether you love me back. So keep smiling. Have a good day, guys.